oversized here on this Tuesday night, and you know what that means. Tuesday is our day. Now, I was trying to figure out what would I do for art day. I don't know. I got peanut butter sandwiches. But no, real. So I was thinking about working on my PNG tuber, and then I'm like, you know what? I know this is probably overkill and overdone, but I think I want to do a challenge. So, Ice Mage, hi! I'm thinking about doing, drawing Pokemon from memory. So if y'all have a suggestion, pop it up. If not, I'm probably just gonna start with Pikachu, because that's, like, super known.
Ew.
Ads! You mean AIDS? No, AIDS! Now you all are infected. Oh, thank you so much for the follow. But yes. Thank you, Floofy. Okay, so the cursed artwork today, it's up to y'all. Dude, I should have set up polls and stuff for this kaiju. Whoopsie. But pretty much, I'm gonna be drawing Pokemon from memory.
Biscuit. Boiling water.
What did you do?
Shut up at me.
Kaijus making blue box mac and cheese, and the boiling water splattered back at him. He's like, oh, boiling lava. I know, I've been burnt, trust me. Weed cat. Okay, hold on. So because one of the foxes was deemed or first or mentioned first, we can do that. So which one? We want to do Vulpix or Ninetales Mage? Which one we doing? Who the hell is Weed Cat anyway? But yeah, I saw Kaiju with, like, the blue box. It's like, dude, you're giving me the munchies. Like, man, like scoops. So, like, I got peanut butter. Okay. Vulpix. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like, too. Hold on. There we go. Let's give it a go, because I have no idea. Oh my gosh! What is happening? I don't know. Chaos. The Chaos Emeralds. I'm going super.
Gotta use the chaos.
Yeah, chaos control. Okay, so they want me to do the Volpox.
Oh.
Yeah. We're gonna do smallpox, y'all. Should I do it like rough sketch, or should I just go G-Pen? Just do the...
Pen.
Yeah, I'll go G-Pen.
Just go. Also.
Really? Per kaiju, this is what he says. Balls to the wall. Okay. Okay, guys. So from memory, draw myself a Vulpix. Son of a biscuit. Okay. I'm just gonna... Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I don't know what I'm doing. It's gonna be cursed. It's wrong. Wrong.
Wrong. Actually.
Wrong. It's gonna be cursed. Like, I'm not gonna erase it either. I'm just gonna...
What is that? Are you 5?
Kaiju's like, yeah, are you 5? Yes. Yes, I'm 5. Oh, baby. It's cursed art. Floofy's all like, yeah. Let's do cursed stuff. Yeah, we're gonna do cursed stuff.
Hello, little hobbit.
Just go crazy. Like, I'm already like, let's just pretend there's a tail up there. Done. I'm gonna save it. That was so horrible. Okay. Yes, definitely. Oh, yes, this is your fellow hobbit, Fen Fox here. I am fun-sized and I'm making cursed art because I don't know what to do tonight.
What's next on
I don't know, but now my mouse is being weird. Why? Okay, I got it. Alright. We really should have set up a poll, Kaiju. Holy moly cannoli. Who's gonna be next in our cursed Pokemon where I have to, like, draw from memory here?
Remember,
So
chat,
Mage
the
had...
power is yours.
Remember, the power is yours. Mage already got one. I failed. Maybe I gotta get the Wiggles out. I'm gonna get the Wiggle. Oh. Yeah, get the Zoomies out. And do my little Fen call. Yeah, what is a weed cap?
Oh, it's the new one.
The who the hell a what? What the new ones look like?
You call yourself a Pokemon fan?
I just like you call yourself a Pokemon fan. No, okay. Besides the new gen, doing the old gens. That game hasn't released yet. I'm not gonna count it. Linton? Got it. Let's do Linton. Holy moly. Fudge. I forget. I just...
Do it. Go.
I can tease you about the shussy all I want, Kaiju. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is so bad. I just know that he's just like, ugh.
I'm dying.
I can't breathe. I know, right? For real, Mage. I'm gonna choke on peanut butter. Holy moly, I don't even... It just looks like a cat. It's really bad. I should never have done this challenge.
No, this is going great.
I'm dying. Holy mother pearl, and then I can't erase it either. And it's just a cat. I'm just drawing a freaking cat. I'm a Pokemon master. My Pokemon scales. Legit, just a freaking cat. I really am gonna choke. Good thing I got my water right here. Oh baby, this is like the best little you ever did. Don't say. I sip. I gotta drink water. Hold on. Garfield, is that you? Lasagna. Hold on, I gotta drink. I gotta breathe. I gotta function. I'm crying. It's like, yeah, let's do the Pokemon challenge. It'll be fine. I remember all the Pokemon. Sits there. I don't remember what they look like. Oh gosh. Oh no. Ruh-roh. Like, I don't know. Was it like, I don't know, red paws and stuff? I don't know. This is really bad. I drew a bad. I'm like, oh, that's just gonna be. It's supposed to be a foot. Let's delete it.
You're crying.
I don't know anymore. Kaiju, help me. This was a mistake. Oh, and I don't drink. I only had water. It's not vodka. I'm okay.
Okay, let me give you one.
You didn't see what I drew, did you?
No, I didn't see what you drew. I'm gonna look at the VOD later.
No. Okay, I'm
What's
good.
your chat saying?
I don't know. They're concerned. They're like, please help. She's gonna choke. Okay, I'm good. Okay, another Pokemon.
Chansey.
Lilith would be interesting if you remember. Oh god. Oh gosh. Okay. I'm okay. Leap. That's the little lamb, right? Or the Lily?
The leaf is the one that suction cups onto the ground, and it's got like big stuff like a coral or something
A coral.
that evolves into Cradle.
Oh, that thing?
Yeah,
That's been forever since I heard of that one. Yeah, I think you're right. It's a purple, like a pink purple. Okay. They're being easy on me now. They're like, oh, we feel sorry for you. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I don't know what exactly it looks like either. Oh god, this is really, really bad. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. And here I thought, this'll be easy. I don't know what Bulbasaur looks like. I don't know what Pikachu looks like. Wow, this is bad. Just your local Pokemon master picking random entries. Yeah. Oh. Kaiju, is that anywhere close to it?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty close.
Hooray! Lily! There we go! Woo! I passed flying colors. I will save this. Yay, I did good. Oh, okay. Kaiju, tell me what to draw next.
You want me to?
No, do whatever. I don't care. You pick. You don't have to be nice. I won't hurt you later.
Well, that's reassuring.
Thanks, babe. Yeah, Kaiju Kittens, he's my husbando, for anyone knowing. So if you hear a little dude in the background, well, no, he's a big dude, but... he's my husbando. He also streams, barely, but yes. So, tell me, Kaiju, what's next?
Indeed.
Indeedee? Indeedee. That's like the one you like. There's a male and female?
Yeah.
Well, which one? Male or female?
Female.
Female. Of course you want female. Why is there a blank slot by your emote? Eh? I don't know. Right? They all got revoked. I need to do another emote, I guess. But yeah, I think y'all know now, but I tried doing the Fen dance and they said no, it's too sexual. Even though it's the clean version of the Anka dance. Like, dude, I'm wearing clothes. I'm wiggling my hips. I've seen worse. Right? And then he's like showing off all of his lewd emotes. Like, dude, that's worse than mine. Whatever. Okay. Indeedy. No, I can't have that, babe. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Gosh. Did it have floopies on the side? Like, no, I know, because I have no idea if it did. This is awful. I'm horrible. It's got like floppy ears, I think. And then the male is like... No! I can't even help myself, my guy. I can't. I have no idea what I'm doing here. It's horrible. It's going horrible. Going horribly wrong. Like, I don't even... This is horrible. I don't even... Yeah, I'm not even trying to erase or nothing.
So well.
I was doing so well.
I figured like it's shaking.
I did it. Indeedy. This is so cursed.
Says, Mummy, can I have some of Rat's rat tail ramen plaza 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 tail?
This is so bad. Hedgie, no. You're gonna die. You're legit going to, like, die if you eat that ramen. Why are you so obsessed, Rat? Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
Do that for Halloween. Give Hedgie
Yeah, give Kaiju says for Halloween I should, like, redo Hedgie and have him have rabies for Halloween because he ate the rat ramen. Yeah. No, he is not named Sonic. It's Hedgie. Hedgie the Hedgehog. No! He's like a weird indigo. Tell me another Pokemon that I can corrupt and horribly draw. This is so terrible. Vespiquen. Okay. Okay. I gotta try to do this one justice. I'm gonna die. I can't rough sketch it at all, huh? Okay. Son of a biscuit. So far, it looks more like an Ampharos for me. Ugh. This is so bad. Mother of pearl. Like, I know it's like a weird little body thing, and then it's like really big. And it's almost like a honeycomb kind of esque. Not a honeycomb! You pervert! Pervert! No! No! No!
Isn't that her hiney?
No!
Her royal hiney?
It's not her royal hiney. You stop it. I'm gonna make it look so bad. I think it has little things, like, on the arm thingies, right? I don't know. This is terrible. Of course, you can't forget about the little wings.
Why do you make its arms so huge?
It's gonna beat you up, that's why. He's like, why do you make the arms so big? Oh. Yeah, this is all cursed. I'm totally gonna post these later. Yeah. Oh my gosh. These are horrible. So bad. Okay. I love this. Thanks, Simp. Thank you for taking so much pleasure in my misery. I totally punished myself. I'm like, you know what? This is gonna be fun. This isn't gonna be so bad. And legit, this is terrible. I'm having a horrible time. Someone called. Hey, man, welcome in. I'm making cursed art. I'm trying to do the Pokemon challenge where you draw them from memory. And apparently my memory isn't as great as I thought it was. Okay, we'll do Houndoom. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Ugh. So yeah, drawing it from memory, using a G pen, and no erasing allowed. This is gonna be so painful. So flippin' painful. I'm already like, dude, I think, like, he had curly horns. Oh gosh, it's bad. I did it too thin. This is really awful. Aw. Ah. Okay. Oh my gosh. I think that he had stuff down his neck, maybe? Like the bones? And holy moly cannoli. Like, I'm gonna do a little pawpaws. Blah, 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 blah. Make the pawpaws do what? Did you already look? Did you already go back in history? Oh gosh. So I guess with the tummy and stuff like that, the pawpaws, the pawpaws. Yeah, and then the wish, puppy. We got this. I think it's on his back too, for the bones. And then I think he's got what, like the skull like thing going on right there or whatever. I did it. There's your Houndoom. Yay! Oh, hold on. I got Yay. And if I slaughter the name, that just makes it better. So there we go. Houndoom. We did it, guys. We did it. That was probably the best one of the night. Oh, gosh. And not too bad. Yay! Oh, my puppy Houndoom. No! Pikachu! Alright. I choose you! Pikachu! Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu! It's Snorlax! No! I don't know. I don't know. I'm not on drugs, Kaiju. I'm just really messed up right now. Oh, I'm so messed up. Oh, gosh. We'll make him fight. Like, hey, I'm a Pikachu, and I choose this Yui.
It looks like a bunny around it.
It looks like a bunny. Yeah, it looks like a bun. Pika. Yeah, that's the mistake I made. I'm like, I'm gonna make him shit down. Oh. And I know he's got stripies on his back, just two, but yeah, there you go. I did it, everybody. the Pikachu. It's the Pika. There you go, Pika. We did it. We did it, guys. It's fantabulous. Glorious. Oh, you know what I gotta do? I gotta challenge Sheep to this challenge. Because sometimes he'll do art, so if he doesn't have any plans for tomorrow when he streams, everybody ask him to do this challenge. I want to see Sheep be as miserable as me. I feel like, yeah, yes, we gotta challenge Sheep. Maybe he'll come in later. Be like, hey, you gotta do this. It's Mason's. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, like that sea snail thingy. Okay. At least that's what I think it is, right? So it's literally just... Oh my gosh. What kind of, like, attachments? It's like... Ugh. Like, legit, like, one of those little bunny-looking things. I know it looks like the more IRL one, but dude, like... Ugh! I know there's more to it! I don't... Kaiju... Brother, help me! No, I don't know what else to do. Because I don't know what else it looks like. Alright, here it is. Wow. So, I'm just... I'm legit just looking at chat to write that because no way in hell can I do that myself. Like, how do you spell that? How do you spell that? No. You know, I just noticed my little spud thing isn't, like, up. Why is that? It says it's up. Hold on, give me a second. La 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 la. Yeah, that's so weird. Like, my spudinator. It's not working. We don't need it. I got the hand on the other thing, just not on the main screen. That's fine. Okay. Let's see, where are we going next? What monstrosity am I drawing next? I have plenty more. Pheromosa. Oh, is that the evolved form of that perfume little bird thing? No. Because that's a different one, right? No, wait.
This is from, I'll just tell you.
Pheromosa, Sun and Moon. Hold on. Because I think with Pheromosa, I think of pheromones. Oh, I don't know. I don't know those. Like those ones that aren't Pokemon, but Pokemon. That come from the other dimension and stuff, right? Oh my gosh. I don't even know what that one is. Is that the one that looks like a cockroach? You nodding your head, Kaiju.
You can wrap me up. No help now.
Kaiju's like, I'm not helping you anymore. I barely know the Ultra Beasts. Like, I remember them, but heck if I know their names and stuff. Yeah, no, we're not doing Digimon. What is a Jigglypuff? Well, I don't know, Simp. What is a Jigglypuff? Food. You know what? If they made that a food, it would be delicious. Okay. I will try to do this Pheromosa, Mariposa, like legit, like super tiny head, but it has like this weird like thing, and then the body and the thing and the tiny little limmies. Ugh. Yeah, not like that. Die! Something like that, because I have no idea, other than that, what in the world that thing looks like. I'm dying! Oh, that's a wonderful comment when there's like, oh, that's not bad. Okay, where is this thing? Okay, so I can spell it here. Oh. Yeah, baby. I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it well. I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it well. Koopa. Unbound. Is that when he's in his genie form, like his big ol' form? Or his little chibi form? The Jafar one? Because that's what I'm thinking of. The evil Jafar. Jeez, like, I do and I don't know what he looks like. Like,
just think of evil Jafar.
Well, he's got, like, horns, I'm pretty sure. And, like, I don't know. Stop yelling at me, kaiju. I have no idea what I'm doing.
You're just drawing Satan.
Like you're just drawing Satan at this point. Same thing. Oh, did he still have the hoops on his, like, horns, I think? I don't even know. He just had hoops everywhere. Some kind of, like, dancer or something, I don't know. Oh, okay. I think his arms... Oh, yeah, I remember he's got, like, huge pecs or something like that. Like, oh. And he's got, like... What, like... 6 arms or something? But, like, I think he's, like, fuzzy. Yeah, oh, holding hoops. Like, raw. You're just terrible and then gonna die. I'm dead. Yeah, he's just got hoops everywhere. So, hoops. I know they're not, like, there, but they're like he's holding them, but I'm just being stupid. It's like the Sonic game, you're losing your rings! Oh no! Okay. His little arm somewhere. I don't think he even really has legs, does he? Like, he's just a giant torso thing, like, And oh my gosh, like, it's some like a goatee thing or whatever. I don't know. This is wonderful. No! Don't look at me! Don't look! None of you look! No, you saw nothing! This is cursed! Get out! Get out of here! Get out of here! You're not allowed! This is private! This is private! You caught me! You caught me red-handed! This is cursed! It's awful! Anyone who doesn't know me, I'm fence size. Tuesdays I do art streams, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? And so I decided, let's do a challenge. Let's draw Pokemon from memory. My memory is a lot worse than I thought. Holy moly cannoli. Yes, your poor raiders. Try to drag them out before it's too late. Get them out here. What's wrong with you? You didn't care to look and see what I was streaming. You just said, oh, look, it's fence size. Let's just throw them in there. You sentenced them to death. Okay, we got this. We're gonna do Jinx, right? Oh, this is cursed. Oh no. I don't even, but yeah, I'm using a G pen. I'm not allowed to sketch. I'm not allowed to erase anything. So it's like one and done. No take backsies. Yeah, what's wrong with you, Wally? What have you done? Okay.
Hello, little hobbits.
This is gonna look like Cousin It or something. I don't know what I'm doing. And yeah, oh baby, this is gonna be great. This is terrible.
One underscore mint underscore ice cream underscore one says Fen seems a bit sussy.
Lizzie McGuire. God. And she's got like what these.
One underscore mint underscore ice cream.
Oh yeah, she's got
underscore
those
one says
freaky
Fen
like
sussy backer.
spiky hip things, like
Hip handles.
hip handles, like that's
Just for you to
super
grab on.
scary. That's super scary. Oh. This is madness. Like a little princess.
You're gonna be like Mr. Mindhand.
Little Mr. My Hands. No, it's just gonna be little meat fingers, little sausages.
Yeah.
And this is Jinx. Yes. Oh, baby. It's a master. I don't know. I just put whatever they had in chat. I did it, guys. Yes, I will be posting all of my art. Against my better judgment. Ah! Thank goodness. Yeah, screenshots, baby. Mr. Mime and Jinx had a kid. Whoa. And he's okay. Since you brought in the raid, Mr. Sheriff, what Pokemon would you like me to doodle? You brought in the raid. What shall I curse upon your fellow, I don't know, deputies or whatever? You already want Vaporeon. You want Duskull. You're going easy. And then yet I curse it still. Oh no, tablet. Turn on. There you go. I pressed it by accident in all this chaos. Okay, Duskull. That should be easy enough, right? It's so easy. It dies. Meow. 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 I already messed up. Meow. 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 I did it. Wait, it's got like a weird thing on the side, don't it? No, I don't know. It's done. I call it done. Wait, I gotta put its name in there. I did it. Yeah. This is bad. So bad. See, this is why I don't need alcoholic beverages. I can get crazy all on my own. Okay. What are we doing? What are we doing? Dusk sperm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Duskull is cute. Type no. I know. Like, okay, is it like while it's still depressed and emo, or when it's like, dude, I'm your buddy, I'm your pal, and like I'm totally getting my head out of this Helmo.
Helmo?
The helmet, but Wolf posted emo. Helmo. Ah! Wallord? You mean Whale Lord? Wallord. It's I got you like it's Wally. That's what we're doing next, guys. Okay. We're gonna So hold on. How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do this? God.
Cowboy hat and a white
I can't draw a cowboy hat. So, like, how am I gonna do this? Like,
from the tip.
I can't do this. The what, babe? His little eye.
Put it on the side right there.
Like with it.
Yeah.
We did it. We did Wallord.
Sheriff Wallord.
Yeah. We got this.
No, put the shit.
Oh, it's the sheriff. Who's that Pokemon? It's the Sheriff Warlord. Ah. Okay. It's Karuka. It's Pikachu. I feel like you made me extra fat. But Wailord is, I mean, Wailord is like the biggest Pokemon, isn't it? It's supposed to be fat. It's just big bone kaiju. Can I have that as a digital download? You got it, baby. Oh, my guts. It's bro. It's Wally's Titan. What? Oh gosh. Okay, we're going. Okay, type no. Hold on, we're gonna do emo type no. We just got distracted from glory. Okay. This one's hard. Why you do this to me? I know he's got like a weird like claw thingy. I don't even know what his other things, and why am I starting by drawing the things I will never know? Like, I don't even know. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what's what, my guy? I'm sorry. Oh, Kaiju's gonna find it. It's gonna be so bad. Okay. I'm not gonna bring that up again.
3 toes.
3 toes. I'm purposely making it bad. I should just make it. I'm a rooster. Because he's so mad. There we go.
No.
No. We did it. Emo.
I should put a little emo here.
Little. Oh yeah, hold on. Emo hair. Oh. We did it, guys. Oh, this is bad. We got it. We got it. Awesome. Type chicken? Yes, it's type delicious. KFC. A dabbing Mr. Okay, hold on. We're doing dabbing Mr. Mime, Farfetch. What we doing? Okay, yeah.
And then
Oh.
Sunset, that's for a little mud kid.
And Mudkip?
Yeah.
Who said that?
Sunset.
Okay, yeah, we'll do Mudkip after dabbing Mime. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. This is gonna be really bad.
With glasses and everything.
I just can't. Oh gosh. I'm dying. Oh gosh, okay. Like, I don't even... Doesn't he have like a circle on his stomach, I think? Something like that. And we're just gonna...
Like knobby.
I don't even know. This is okay.
Yeah.
This is good.
How's it not bad?
Yay! We got this. We got this. Oh. I'm dying. Okay. He's beautiful. I'm so glad I can bring a tear to your eye. Like, oh. I heard you like mudkips. Well, I'm gonna slaughter this bad boy. Like, first it ends up cute, and then it's like, what am I looking at?
Rotting Rat 12 says
It was like total size horrible, not even. Whatever. What are you doing to my hedgie? That's the best I can do.
Would like some rat tail ramen and des.
What? What? It sounded like it said sex a lot, and then it said I want some rat tail and death. What did it actually say? I would like some rat tail ramen and some ice cream. Ooh woo. I didn't hear that at all. I heard rat tail and death. I don't know about y'all. No. Oh no. Oh gosh. Dude, where is Sheep? I want him to be here. Where are you? Alright guys. What do we got? What do we got? Bring it on. I've already embarrassed myself enough. Bring it on. I know, right? Simp's like, I heard shek. Oh, Hedgie, no. If not, Kaiju, any suggestions? Unless someone in chat comes first. Hold on. Let's go.
Agumon.
Agumon? What's wrong with you? Drowsy? Alright. Oh, okay. He's gonna be angry. Like, legit. Oh.
Hello, little hobbits.
There, you got it. I think he's got a tail. I have no idea. There's your Drowsy. And he's happy. That was totally appropriate. I did. I did it. Yeah.
Hey, it's me, Bros.
Hey, it's me, Drowsy. Farfetch. Okay. I spelt drowsy wrong, didn't I? Who cares? It's supposed to be so terrible. It adds to the lovelies. Okay. Alright, Farfetch. Oh, jeez Louise. Well, first we're gonna draw his big ol' leak. And I guess him holding it. Like, don't even ask my process. I don't even know what I'm doing. like, oh, we're not half bad. And it's like, nope, it's dead now. It's totally dead now. I did it! I did it, guys! It's far-fetched. Thanks, Kaiju. No wonder why they're going extinct, he says. Isn't it got... I don't know. Whatever. I don't know how to spell. It makes it all the more cringy. This is great. We're not even an hour into this horrible chaos. Oh! Berserker. Oh wait, Berserker.
It's the Meowth
It's
from the
it's the new Meowth that's from what's it called, right? Like the Viking
yeah.
little one. Yeah. Oh boy. Thanks for the hydrate, rat. I need it. Wario Pikachu? No! Drawing Pokemon from memory. We're not crossing them. That's even more cursed. You must go. Oh no. Oh, you're gonna return in 3 minutes. We never know when Rat's leaving. It's always a mystery. You're yelling too much. Goodbye. If you come back, I don't know. Hi again. I'm sorry for yelling. This is just so cursed, and I am out of my mind. My head's gonna hurt after this. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. So, dude, like, Berserker, he still has that, like, signature coin thing, I guess? But he's got, like, those weird horn-looking thingies, right? But he's like crazy, like rawr. Yar. Oh, yay!
That's just another devil.
It's just another devil. And it, like, isn't it like his helmet, like, or something looking thing? I don't even know. And as far as the body's concerned, I'm like, it's just a Meowth. It's just a Meowth looking thing, right, guys? Because I don't know where to go from here. Meowth, that's right. Oh my. I don't even think he had a tail, did he? He lost it. Yeah, we did it. Berserker. Woo! Power. I never know when you're leaving or going or this and that. My guy. How do I even spell it? It's just gonna be whatever I deem. Whatever. It's good. It looks like an elementary school kid drew this. Oh. Got it. It looks like Kaiju. Yeah! Alright. Mewtwo. Oh joy. Oh joy. Oh fudge. I already messed up. I already messed up big time, guys. Eh. Oh. And he's just got like stuff. There you go, he got stuff. And some weird stuff. And this stuff. And how can you forget those big old hands that are just like giant meatballs? Oh boy. Oh boy, this is gonna be so good. Like frog hands. We did it. We're doing great.
Hey, it's me, Mewtwo.
Hey, it's me. And then I got really thick right here, like, oh baby. Oh baby.
What the hell's going on? Is that an ass?
Dude, that is not an ass. We did it. We're doing it. We're doing it well. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it well. And then a big old tail. And we go. There you go. It's mutant. Yeah. I'm gonna lose my voice. I don't know. I keep wheezing. Ah. Oh my gosh. I don't know how much longer I can last, guys. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, those stupid owls. I'm sorry, Rat. What shall I draw next? Yay! A hoot hoot. A hoot hoot. Gosh, like, didn't it have, like, I don't even, eh, eh. Something, something dark side. Something, something complete. Yay, we did it! Hoot hoot! Look, Kaiju, I did it! Kaiju, you should do this too. Join me. That's what you have to do. I'm gonna challenge you and Sheep to this challenge. Fletchling, fletchling, fletchling. Oh gosh. Brain. Oh, brain. Fletchling. Isn't that the Firebird one? Was it? Oh no. Hold on, I got this. Think, brain. Think with your tiny little brain. Oh, yes! Okay. Oh gosh. It's cursed already, guys. I apologize. I apologize. The stare.
It's just a bird. Preschooler's version of a pigeon.
But I think it's like, what, black tip wing thing maybe? And like something with the body and this like freaking pigeon. I can't save this. It cannot be redeemed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And you're so cute. And I dishonor upon you and your family. The stare is accurate. Hooray! Huzzah! I did it! I did it! Regular bird, but this is acceptable. Kachu's like, this is like a preschool version of a pigeon. Simp 2, pigeon. Oh, great! This is fabulous! On to the next curse! What shall we do, guys? What are we doing? Oh.
You're Wooloo.
What, babe?
Wooloo.
Wooloo?
Wooloo.
Oh, Surfetched as well? Okay, oh no. Okay. I already messed up. I'm legit. I'm just legit doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
I am. Totally. What's his face? That's the pilot?
Pat McQuack.
Yeah, it's Lord Pitt, yay! Oof.
You can make a bump as hell? Do it.
But he forgot leg day. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Simp's like, we're doing Disney next. Oh, oh, okay. He's gonna hold his giant leak thing, right? Oh, baby. I thought so. Yeah, I thought he had a shield. I don't know what that looks like, so he's just gonna have that. Because I don't know. Oh. That's it. Right there, guys. They're fetched. Yes. Yes. Oh. Oh gosh. Oh, I'm dying. What was it, Surfish? And you said Wooloo or whatever?
Yeah, but they.
You want to do Wooloo? That made my favorite Pokemon better. I'm so glad that I was able to do that for you. You know, it would be really even worse if I took all of these and I decided to color them in. Woo! Okay. So, oh my gosh, Wooloo, it's got little horns, yeah? Or no horns? I know it's got like the little... Okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna... Sheep's gonna be mad at me if I get this wrong. I don't think it does, but I think it does. And it's just gonna be cursed. It's gonna be super cursed.
Oh,
It's gonna be bigger than that. That's the head kaiju. Calm down. Calm down. Had a little tail. A tiny little dainty hooves. A little dainty. A little dainty. There we go. Yay! Woo. We did it. All right. We got, was it Zygarde or something? Or is she busy here so it's okay? Where is he?
that works still.
Yeah, you know, is he? By
He
now
usually
he'd be
doesn't get-
home.
Well,
I guess it would be around this time. I have to challenge him. If anyone sees him, they challenge him. to a duel. Duel.
Like I remember I was saying like
Okay, hold on. Zygarde. Oh my gosh.
there's like 5 versions of Zygarde.
I know, right? Like, which version are we talking about of Zygarde? Because I remember there's like a cell one, a dog looking one, a giant like transformer looking one. Copper form. Yeah, it's just gonna look like a dog.
It's gonna be Houndoom again.
Yeah. Kaiji's like, it's just gonna be Houndoom again. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's got stuff. It's got stuff.
I think it's wearing a scarf.
I'm not even trying because I don't know what it looks like.
Not like a long scarf. Like one of those long scarves.
Materialized stuff. I don't know. I'm happy. Don't know. I don't know what it looks like. I just know vaguely that it's got like black and green. I know I'm a disappointment. I'm a disappointment to my species. Oh, hold on. There we go. Do like the whole freaking Pokedex and make my own Poke Rap. Yeah, gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon.
I mean that Pokemon.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I forget his name. The guy who makes those TikToks of the Pokemon and he says the weird names and makes them all derpy. Like, I forget what a lot of them look like. Let's be honest. It's like I know how to read it and everything, but like, oh, Jiminy Cricket. What do they look like? Wow. Like, this is terrible. I don't even know. This is terrible. It's so terrible. What are you drawing, Kaiju? Nice. Nice. I can't. I don't know what the other... Like, I do, but I can't recall. I can read it, no problem. I bring it up to my mind. I have no flippin' idea. Yay! Oh, it's so good. This is amazing. Okay, what's your favorite? Charizard. Happy, happy, joy, joy! Oh no. Okay. Okay. I'm so sorry, Charizard. I'm so... It's like, don't bring your favorites in here. I'm gonna kill them. Oh. I'm gonna kill them all. That's what's gonna happen. Oh. Like, I'll take your loved ones and I'll destroy them all. Destroy them all! Destroy them all! Oh gosh. Wow! I'm so happy I put that redeem in there. I did it! Yeah! Charizard! I tried! Charizard! Yay! That's great. You've never seen Pokemon in your life? I'm glad I could finally introduce you to Pokemon Ben style.
Wolfang95 says this is amazing, love the stream, many wows.
Thank you. I'm so glad that I can entertain people at my own expense. I'm in so much pain. So much pain. Look, guys, I can do art. It's so freaking cursed. Oh. Alright, guys. Oh, yeah. Alright, yeah, we're gonna do Ditto. We can do Ditto. Okay. Oh, how am I gonna do this? We all know where we're going. We're going on an adventure. 10 seconds or less? Wait, I'm not ready. Oh gosh. Oh. They're gonna be in their Pokeball because they're ashamed. Yeah, there we go, guys. Ditto. Oh yeah. Yes. Floopy. Oh. Oh my. I wanted you to make that joke. I'm glad I can make all your dreams come true. Sizor. Okay. Let's try. Oh my gosh. Oh. It's already done. It's already done. I messed up. It looks like Sanic. Okay. Gotta go fast. Oh gosh. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I know what it looks like, but at the same time, I'm like, what does it look like? I just know that he's got, like... I don't know. I don't know. He got little chomp chomps, and I think he's got... Something like that. Oh, it's beautiful. It's already turning out so lovely. Oh no. What am I doing? Hold up. I'm trying to imagine his lower body, but I don't remember. I just gonna be nubs. I don't know. Breathe. I can't breathe. There you go, guys. Yeah. Scyther. Oh. I'm dying. I'm slowly dying inside. I'm slowly. Oh. Hold on. How many do we even have so far? I gotta look. Where am I? Let's see. Where am I saving these? Oh. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. We're on number 29. Oh no. Oh no! No, sorry, get out of here! Oh god! This world, get out of here! Siri, thank you for the raid! How are you? How is your stream? This is cursed land. Why did you bring them here? Okay, for anyone that doesn't know me, I am Fensized. I game, I also art on Tuesdays generally. I didn't know what to do today, so I am trying to draw. Thank you so much for the follow. I'm trying to draw Pokemon from memory. My memory sucks so much more than I ever thought it did. So pretty much using the G pen, no erases, no sketchies. Once it's done, it's done. I'm drawing it from memory. This is turning out to be so bad. No! Sorry, no! Spare their lives! What have you done? I'm dying. Oh, is it it's hot in here? Or is it just me? I think I'm gonna need more water. So yeah, since you, Suri, came in with a raid, tell us, what would you like to see next? What Pokemon would you like me to completely demolish? No, not their favorite. I'd ruin it. Kaiju, no. No, Kaiju, no. Oh, Loudred. Oh, for the love of everything in this world. I think I remember what he looks like. You've doomed me, man. Okay. Oh, take a deep breath. Oh my gosh. Loudred is the last one, I'm pretty sure, right? Because it's...
No help.
Oh, Kaiju, I know. Oh, for the love of goodness. I'm thinking the second one, though. Yeah, it's the second one. Because the third one's Explode. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Suri. Kaiju's gonna get mad at you because that's you're helping me. You can't help me. Okay, okay. Oh, okay. I just remember a huge, huge mouth. This is gonna be so freaking cursed. I think he's got big old teeth. I don't know. This just looks like one of those things from what was it, Nickelodeon or something? Oh gosh. I don't even Heaven help me. I think I'm not gonna I think he's got big ol' stuff right there. I think.
Gareth, have you been looking at this stuff?
Shut up, Kaiju. Anyone who doesn't know, Kaiju's my husband, and he's beside me, mocking me and enjoying my misery. It's from Spy Kids? I wouldn't know that. Oh, no. I don't even know what his legs look like. Don't even know. I'm just assuming he's like an elephant. I don't even know. This is great. I just can't. Yep, there you go. That's it. Spot on, guys. That's glorious. We're just gonna save that. Oh gosh. We're on number 30. Oh no. Oh no. Oh yeah, Real Monsters. Yeah. I love that show. Oh. It did, yeah. Totally spot on. Any other lovely suggestions? By all means, lay 'em on me. Oh. Kaiju, when you have a minute, can you please get me more water? Here, take it. Fill it up. Please. I'm like laughing and wheezing so hard. My throat hurts. You got nothing? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. Anybody. Anything. Oh, don't do this to me. Okay, hold on. Aromatise. I could do that. And then Kaiju says do Pumpkaboo. That's my baby. I don't want to hurt my Pumpkaboo. Hopefully I can do it justice. Well, you better, simp. You better. If you want to fit in with this group, you better love Pokemon. No, you're fine. No pressure. Oh my gosh, Aromatise. Like, all I remember is like, Like, that's literally like a kind of like, oh baby, and then like some weird like I think like it kind of reminded me of like Mr. Mime or something, but like really big. I already did it wrong. It's not Squidward. Oh gosh. I was thinking of like those doctor masks, you know, like the plague mask. It's not right. That's all I remember. Oh no. You remember better than I did. Did you do this challenge? Or you should. If you haven't. Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay. Hooray! We did it, guys. Oh, now I gotta do Pumpkaboo. Why are you doing this to me, Kaiju? Why? Why are you doing this to me? Oh, you did a while back? Like, I keep up with Pokemon, but I haven't played the new game because it hasn't come out. And, like, the first thing, like, one of my peeps rats, like, yeah, do these. I'm like, what the heck is that? That's one of the new ones. Like, we haven't played that yet. Thank you for the water, Kaiju. Oh Oh gosh. I don't want to draw Pumpkaboo. Not my baby. This is gonna be bad. Okay. Whew. I know I already did. Stop it. Stop the kaiju. You're so mean to me. You're so flippin' mean to me, my poor baby. My poor baby. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. My poor baby. Oh, I can't remember. I think that's all to it. Like, he's got, like, little nubbies. I think that... Oh, no! He's supersized. I love it. Happy Halloween! This poor baby. He won the blue ribbon prize for being biggest pumpkin.
pumpkin.
Thickest boy. Yes. Yep, thickest boy. This is great. Oh, my poor baby. Oh my gosh. Where are we going? Where are we going, Kaiju? Anybody? Any more suggestions? If not, Kaiju's gonna start slewing it. Oh, Masharna. Oh, that thing.
Just felt drowsy.
It
Just
literally-
sideways.
A curled up drowsy in a bunch of, like, weed vapors or something. Like, legit, just, like, sleeping and, like, weird and curled in on itself like it's some kind of, like...
Fetus.
Exactly, it's a fetus. Zetus, my fetus. This is bad.
Come on, umbilical cord.
It's the baby of dreams. Oh. It's okay, so just whatever. If it's a repeat, we'll let you know. It's all good. I think that's how it's spelled. Here we go. Take it. Take it or leave it. It was so bad. Oh my gosh. Oh. You want Tyranitar.
Yeah.
Fabulous, darling. Okay, per kaiju. Tyranitar. Oh no. Oh no. Like, I see it in my head, but it is not gonna go the same way on here. It is not. I literally only know it as the fetus Pokemon. Yep. There you go. It's the fetus Pokemon. Okay. Woo! We got... I think he's got... Oh, I already messed up its face. So I just don't care no more. Oh no! I already messed him up. It's a chicken. That's what it is. It's just a chicken. There's no going back now. And I think he's got, like, this tummy stuff going on. And he's got some spikies on his back, kind of like Gorjira. I think he's got little nubbies for hands. Little nubs. Sorry, Kaiju. Yeah!
Like a weird, like, fake Bowser.
It's a weird Bowser. Hooray! I thought he had like some weird spiky chest stuff, but I don't even know. I think he had like a hole on the side of his head. So yeah, that's a hole. Not an eye, just a little eyes. Yeah. I don't know how to spell it. That's what it's gonna be. It's done. Drawing tour. Drawing tour. Hey, ran a tour. How's you feeling? I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling. My throat's super dry. I'm wheezing. I got tears in my eyes. Whew. I think I'll be okay, but my throat is feeling tight. Wow. What, Kaiju? You want Scyther. You're just gonna pick on me this whole time now, aren't you? Yeah, boy. It's like, why would you think Scyther would be a good idea after I slaughtered Sizor? I just remember its big old claw-looking hand things. Oh, for the love of everything good in this world. I don't even know what this looks like. It's a basketball. That's just what it is. I think he's got little pointy little things on his upper legs. Oh. It looks like a chicken. What's with me and chickens tonight? There you go. Scyther! Oh wait, it's got wings.
Chicken wings?
No, not chicken wings. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Any more? Because if we don't have any more suggestions for Pokemon, I could take up, I think it was Simp's idea, and I could try to draw Disney characters. If y'all want. If not, we could keep going on this.
So we got Combustion and Magikarp.
Okay, Combuskin. The most difficult and valuable Pokemon to capture, Magikarp. Disney characters work too. Oh, and Lopunny. Alright, guys. Let's see. Combuskin. Jeez Louise, that's second. That's after Torchic. Okay. It's like, draws everything like chickens. Comes to a chicken. What's that? What's that? Oh gosh. Like, its body is just like... This is just gonna look like a... It's just gonna look like a chicken! Like, hey guys, I'm a chicken. I'm a Pokemon. You believe me, right guys? I'm a Pokemon.
I'm deep fried.
Oh, I think it has something like that. And just like, there you go. We got this. That's your Combuskin. Right?
Peter Griffin. Little giant chicken.
Peter Griffin? Dude, start a fight with him. That's what's gonna happen. Oh no. Okay. Okay, we got Magikarp. Oh boy. Oh.
Brush your lips.
Already the mouth makes me think of Kaiju's clip that Rat got. Oh. As posted on the Discord for anyone who's curious. Sounds so good. Any more chicken? Peter Griffin want to go on a vacation? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna do it. We're like, oh. Oh my gosh. How does it fins go? Like the same as that, I think, right? Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. I know there's more to this. Hold on. Like, I know, like, maybe, like, I don't know.
That's not too terrible.
I
Not
think
as cursed as your other one.
not as cursed as the other ones. Thanks, babe. You beautiful. Let's see. Lopunny. Okay. Like, not the mega or anything, right? Oh my gosh, it's sheep, everybody! It's sheep! 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 Sheep.
Just for fun.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Are you gonna do an art stream anytime soon? I challenge you to draw Pokemon from memory.
Sheep's not a big Pokemon person.
But that's all the better, Kaiju. If he's not too big on Pokemon, it's even better. Do what I'm doing. Curse everything. Let it all burn. No! No, sheep. No, it's not that kind of stream. Oh, you missed the fun. But I will be posting all of these cursed doodles. I will. So, you know, that or you could always watch the VOD. So, sheep, I'm gonna be doing Lopunny next, but what would you like to see? What Pokemon would you like me to curse from my memory and put onto the screen for all of you to enjoy? Let me try to remember Lopunny while you ponder that. Already, Gudra. Oh, baby. Okay, so hold on. Let me do Lopunny, and then we're gonna do that. Oh, gosh. So, of course, this, like... Ooh. Oh, no! Like, I can't. Like the cursed eyes. This is terrible. But yeah, legit. That's all I see. I just remember huge thighs. That's how I remember Lopunny. Oh, how do you spell it again? Oh gosh. Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite. Y'all coming to me with your favorite Pokemon. Why? You want to see it screwed up? Is that why? Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me think. I think it's got... Yes, it's got Goo Kaiju. Goo Kaiju. Already messed up. But that's okay. At this point, I think of like a Winnie the Pooh character. Because it's gonna be so cursed. It's gonna be so cursed. I'm a big kid now. It's Barney. Ooh. And gooey gooeys. Yeah, it's drooling. It's just and it's got like no snot too. Nice. We did it, guys. We did it. I'm so sorry, sheep. I'm so sorry. Should I go on with Pokemon or should we start doing Disney characters? Oh, why is it so sad? I warned you, sheep. This is cursed. Everything that has procured into this screen here. Oh my gosh. Oh. Draw Elsa. She was waiting in the shadows like, yes! Into the unknown! Oh no, this is gonna be worse than Pokemon. Oh no. What did I get myself into? Okay, and Stitch? Okay. One of your French pickles? Okay, so we were drawing Pokemon from memory, and now I've gone on to the realm of Disney. This is awful. Okay, so Elsa, are we talking like her and her royal getup? Her when she first in the first movie makes her little ice palace and oh I got a braid and I loosen my hair, or is this the last one where like she lets all her hair just hang out? Whatever I want. This is bad. Oh, I can't do this. I have to end the pain. I have to end the pain. Don't look. Just leave me alone. How do I get out of here? Into the unknown. She's got like braids or whatever going on.
Let them know that the rules.
The rules, I can't erase anything.
And it's all pen.
It's all pen. I can't go back.
No sketching. Like once it's done.
You
it's done.
button nose. You button nose like Charlie Brown. Oh boy. And we have those huge eyes. Oh. That's what Disney does, don't they? Where are you going? I need supervision. Show the child tomorrow. Like, look, Jenna, mommy drew Elsa. Mommy drew Elsa. Foamy the squirrel? Really?
Nice, yeah.
Oh. We did it, guys. We did it. Someone said Stitch. Okay. Okay. Oh, I love Stitch. Why are you doing this to me? Oh my gosh. Okay, so like This is bad. This is so bad. Kill me, somebody. Just pull the trigger. Pull the trigger now! Pull the trigger now!
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way. It was like 6? No, it was just 4, wasn't it? Well, now you have an extra one. There you go, Stitch. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry this had to end this way. My friend. Oh, for the love of Pete's sake. This is so bad. Somebody kill me. There you go. And we're just... Oh! Oh, Fudge! Very chunk, very cute. Sure. Sure. I need to see Stitch and Grogu and Baby Yoda. Oh my gosh. Okay, where do I start? Oh my gosh. Uncle Scrooge?
What do you have?
Drosselin the Hedgehog from the hit Disney movie Wreck-It Ralph. I'm so sorry I got sidetracked, Demon. It is late for you. Go to bed. Just go to bed. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at this art. Don't look at it. I swear I'm not drunk. I don't drink. I have water. Okay, where do we start, Kaiju? Dictate it. Baby Yoda? I don't. I'm clean. I'm a good-un. I'm a good noodle. Kaiju, you can vouch for me, can't you? They think that I'm high. Ugh, I'm afraid of what you're gonna type. Thanks. Thanks, babe. Thanks, babe.
No problem, babe.
Okay. I'm like totally losing myself. So, Baby Yoda?
Yep.
Grogurt. Okay. Chicken nuggets. Chicken nuggets. There's your baby Grogurt. Grogurt. Perfect. Oh, fudge. Feds are on the way. Take me away. Put me in the special jacket and throw me in a soft, cushy room. I need out of here. Okay, okay. Darth Vader. Oh my gosh. I'm doing this on purpose. I'm just doing it on purpose. Because I don't know. Make me do that helmet? No way. It does. And then he's got that bee-boop bebop thing on there. Yeah, we got it. We got it, boys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Molly is like, I thought Arthur being this going on.
He does. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Shiny. There we go.
Get the lights, Sleeper.
Okay. A kitchen knife. There.
Butter knife.
A little butter knife saber. I'm dying. I'm dying. I have tears. Tears in my eyes.
Demon Werewolf says Mommy Demon gave me ice cream.
Oh.
Said something about a workday and how he should be asleep. Yummy butterscotch flavored.
Oh, screw.
Butterscotch flavored. Oh, hell no. We don't have butterscotch candy up in here. Kaiju, what's this?
Oh, I said, blah, blah, blah. Was it?
What we got next? Scrooge. Scrooge. Dimmer, go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to bed. Okay. Scroogey McDucky. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think of the hat. And then I think of this. And gosh. He's got little... Yeah. Okay. And so he's got like, I don't know. Usually he's wearing like a robe or something. I don't know. So we're just gonna give him that robe thing. And then he'll have his little cane. Hey, it's me, Scrooge McDuck. Money, 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 money.
Money bag.
Sure, money bags. Ka-ching, ka-pa-chow. Chow. We got this. It's money, it's coins, guys. It's not duck poop, okay? It's McDuck, right? McDonald's. We did it! Glorious. Bring it on. What's next? I have no dignity anymore. It's all but gone. Uncle Scrooge! I am not drunk. I do not drink. I do not do drugs. I am insane. I'm just insane. Are you insane? Yes.
Simba.
Simba?
No, Simba's next.
Okay. Literally, I think. Okay, have you ever seen it where this guy, was it a TikTok or something? They were like at the hospital, their baby was born. This guy takes a ketchup packet and smears it on their baby's head. Simba. Simba. Oh, okay, Simba. I laugh in the face of danger. Oh no, this is bad. This is gonna be so bad. I already messed up the head. Hold on. Gonna be a mighty king. So enemies beware. Find a little beast. Like.
That's the king.
So, hey, I'm gonna be the main event like no game was before. I'm looking down. I'm working on my roar. Inspiring thing or something. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. Oh, and we'll have the smear on his head. There you go. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. Oh. Wouldn't you love to see me get drunk, huh? Never. Never. I'm drinking water. That's what it is. It's water. We're trying to do things from Disney. You want me to Ed, Edd and Eddy? And the boy? That's my horse. No, that's my horse. Oh my gosh. Oh my word. Oh my gosh. Hold on, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I'm just... It looks more like Skeeter. Just kill me. Just kill me. I forgot his ear. Oh no. Can't. I don't want to live anymore. Why not? Okay, and then with the hat. It doesn't even look like it. Doesn't even look like it. I don't even remember, what did he wear? I forget. I think it was just a red t-shirt, right? And shorts. I'm just skipping because this is painful. My head hurts. I'm laughing so hard. Okay, and then... Oh my gosh. This short one. Oh, great. Just give him a jawbreaker. Just give him one. And he's just gonna drool. I just don't care. I don't care. I think he had a yellow shirt, right? This guy. And he had like baggy, like short looking things, but I think he had like... Yeah, he's got a No, he's eating a jawbreaker. He finally got his jawbreaker, guys. I think he had like a chain or something there. And whatever base shoes. Yeah. Was it Ed? Ed. Was Eddie this one and this is Ed? Yeah, the main guy was Ed, right? Or no?
They're all Ed boys.
I know, but I know that's double D. I don't know, whatever. Life is pain. No, life is so much pain. No, that's Ed. This guy, right? The short dude, he's Ed, right? Or is the big guy Ed? Ed and Eddie. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Utter chaos and confusion. That's all that's known here. Oh, look, we reached our 2-hour mark. I don't know if I can keep this up much longer. Does anyone else have any other suggestions before I'm at my limit? I'm laughing so hard, my throat hurts and my head's gonna explode. Oh, Kaiju, you want Mickey Mouse?
Yeah,
Fabulous, darling. Fabulous. I'm gonna mess this up. Minty wanted me to draw Mickey. That's me, Mickey. Oh boy. Well, thank you for coming out. Thank you so much for watching this stream with me. I'm done. I'm done. I'm spent. It's gone. Everything. Everything's a lie. I'm done with the curse. I'm done. Turn into a Disney princess? Hold on, hold on. Oh, Mint? Wait. Turn Mint into a Disney princess. I don't know, what does Minty look like? Am I basing it off of the picture off of Discord? That clown thing? Excuse me. Whew. A mint ice cream princess? Hold on. Like, hold on. Like, how do I...
This looks like a turd. A corn and a turd?
Sure, it's corn in a turd, Kaiju. Thanks. Thank you so much. A face on it?
Yeah, little face. Or an ice cream. There we go.
Mint ice cream princess. Mother of pearl. Gosh. I love it. Mint went to bed?
Oh, I like the.
Okay, like everything just happened in a blur.
I think she's pulling him once.
Oh no. Oh my gosh, this is what a lovely way to end. Okay. Y'all want to you want to raid somebody? Yeah, let's do a raid. Holy moly cannoli. Glorious. Anyone have a suggestion? I'm not sure if I have anyone online. Let's see.
Gator, huh?
Morning Gator? You
Hmm.
have
And
anyone?
then you got.
Ah, sorry, I blew everyone with my screen thingy. Let's see. We can do morning. Is he doing art? Yeah. Morning Gator. Why end the art here? Alright, guys. Have a lovely evening. Thank you so much for coming and watching me make a utter fool of myself. I will post these pictures a little later on the Discord and say hi to Morning Gator, what have you. Have a ragtag all time, and until next time, thank you again. Good night! Great stream. Thank you. I have no idea. Do anything you want. I'm not good with raid messages. Bye. Good night.
And you cute. Can't see it. Fen too? What is up